I believe that there is no such thing as a perfect, comprehensive training modality. No single style of training will cover the full gamut of everything that the body is capable of. Therefore, I think if you want to get a more complete, comprehensive program, you need to combine ideas from different training modalities. And the easiest way to start doing this is by taking two that you're interested in and then melding them together. And like combining the right wine with the correct cheese, something I know nothing about, this can result in an absolutely beautiful final product. In this video, I'm going to explain why I think calisthenics and kettlebell training is one of the very best pairings of training styles, and it's something that I think anyone from beginners to pros can benefit from. So anyone who's been watching this channel for a while will know that calisthenics is one of my very favourite ways to train, possibly my favourite way to train. And I'll highlight some of the reasons why before I lay into it. So calisthenics is fantastic for building proprioception, body awareness of your body in space. In order to do some of the more advanced calisthenics skills, you need to focus on things like your scapular retraction, your pelvic alignment, your core bracing, things that we just don't discuss in other areas of training, but which can improve the way you move throughout the world. You're going to need to build mobility in equal measure with strength. You're going to be using full ranges of motion and considering all of these things together. The result is greater mastery over your body weight so that you can run faster, climb better, and perform superhuman looking feats. And this is a training style you can use literally anywhere. You don't need any equipment. You don't need any expensive gym membership. You can just start from your room at home and just follow advice online. But no training style is perfect, and the limitations of calisthenics are well documented. So for starters, it's famous for being not particularly great at stimulating the legs. If you want tree trunk legs, then calisthenics isn't going to get you there. Calisthenics has some great challenging leg exercises, pistol squats, sissy squats, Cossack squats, all that good stuff. And done for higher rep ranges, this can get pretty taxing. However, it's not going to get you those massive, strong legs that you get from something like powerlifting. And you also lose out on some of the other benefits there, things like bone density. But what I think is actually a bigger problem for calisthenics, and what often doesn't get mentioned as much, is the lack of hip hinge movements and the lack of picking things up off the ground. Picking things up off the ground is one of the most fundamental things that we have to do in life. It's one of the main ways we actually use our strength in the modern day. So if you're not practicing picking things up off the ground, you can't say you have a complete training style. And if you're training calisthenics entirely from home with no equipment, then of course you're going to run into the problem of training your biceps and your lats. This is really hard to do if you don't have a pull-up bar, and everyone always says you can do calisthenics anywhere. Well, actually pull-up bars are quite hard to come by. Finally, calisthenics, when performed for high repetitions with simple closed chain movements like push-ups, air squats, can be good for building some endurance, some cardio, some strength endurance, but it's still not perfect, and not everyone's going to be training with that style. If you're doing the more advanced calisthenics movements, then you're basically throwing out high volume, and you're not going to be getting that stimulus you need for building endurance, which, again, strength endurance is what we use outside of the gym, outside of training. You don't pick up something once. You don't do one cool feat. You have to play a whole game of sports. You have to carry something a long distance. That's how strength and performance works in the real world. None of this is to say I don't like calisthenics. You know I love calisthenics, and the same goes when I criticize powerlifting, bodybuilding, anything. I like all training modalities, but none of them are complete on their own. And that's where our friend, the kettlebell, and kettlebell training come in. So the kettlebell addresses almost all of these issues. First of all, it sits in that lovely middle ground between strength and cardio. So you're using large rep ranges, but they are against resistance. With something like the cyclical and ballistic movement of the kettlebell swing, you're racking up large rep ranges, challenging your aerobic capacity, but at the same time, it's still a form of strength training. Developing that kind of strength endurance that I just said is so useful across a whole range of activities. But more important still is that it offers the perfect solution for that aforementioned lack of hip hinge training and carrying. Because with the kettlebell, of course, you can perform the kettlebell swing, that being one of the most prominent and useful hip hinge movements out there alongside the deadlift. Practicing the kettlebell swing will give you the ability to pick things up off the ground without pitching your back out. It will teach you to correctly hinge at the hips, and it will build big, strong glutes. All things that will be missing if you only train calisthenics. On top of this, you can also just pick up the kettlebell and walk with it, so you get that carrying motion that is also important. Something else I forgot to mention when I was talking about the drawbacks of calisthenics is the lack of any rotational exercise. This is an issue with so many forms of training, and it's so hard to challenge yourself without something like a cable. Well, there are ways to train rotation with the kettlebell. The kettlebell halo will do it. I don't know why I have to keep picking it up every time I say the word kettlebell. You've got things like the crossbody kettlebell swings, the atlas swings, the halos, all of which great for building rotation, which translates to everything from running to walking to throwing a punch, pulling, pushing, you name it. And a kettlebell can be really useful for training the biceps and lats without a pull-up bar. So again, this isn't no equipment, but in terms of training at home in your living room, for example, a kettlebell is a really convenient option. One tool that you can do so much with, and now you can start doing things like bent rows and goblet curls. A kettlebell for your biceps, you might be thinking? A kettlebell is no use for your biceps. Well, actually, I've lately been using a kettlebell as my main training tool for my biceps, replacing my big bicep gauntlet sets, and it's been working brilliantly. I think I've actually grown my arms a little bit. So what I've been doing is goblet curls. You're going to hold the kettlebell like so, and then just curl them up like that. And then what you're going to do is do this for a high rep range. I've been doing 25, and this is a 20 kilogram kettlebell, just for your reference. Obviously you do whatever works for you. So why is this good? Well, for starters, I'm training both my biceps and my grip strength, as I have to hold on to the handle here and it wants to slide around. That's going to engage the brachialis, more muscles in that area. At the same time, this is again how you would lift something in real life. If I'm picking something up heavy from the ground, I'm going to be grasping it with both hands and curling it up like this. Getting there. At the same time, because I'm doing that high rep range, I didn't count that, because I'm doing a high rep range, 25, I'm training my strength endurance. This again is actually what your biceps should be for. You need them to be strong for a long period of time, whether you're holding someone in a lock, whether you're carrying shopping, carrying your kids, whatever it is, you need your biceps to work, not just for one heavy rep. Finally, this builds a lot of metabolic stress, which, at least for me, is kind of like miracle grow for my biceps. It gets the blood flowing there, and it's not too intensive. You get a good burn at the time, but the recovery is fast, so you can do high volumes of this, do it high frequency as well, and you're going to see your arms grow. By the way, guys, you might have noticed my boots and been wondering what's going on with them, because they're not probably the kind of footwear you usually associate with coming to the woods and training. Well, these are the Gobi Hyper boots from Vivo Barefoot, today's sponsor. These are barefoot shoes, minimal shoes that offer you all the benefits you get from other minimal footwear. You've seen me talk about a whole bunch of shoes from Vivo Barefoot, but what makes these ones different is that they are boots and they offer you all of the benefits that you would associate with a winter boot. That means they're going to protect you from the weather, and it means they're going to protect your feet from hazards. So basically, these shoes dispel the myth that boots need to be stiff and rigid and uncomfortable in order to provide you with that kind of protection. Vivo Barefoot want to dispel a bunch of myths about this kind of shoe. For example, you might believe that a thicker sole protects your foot better, but this can actually reduce your ground feel, making you more likely to twist or hurt an ankle. Likewise, they want to dispel the myth that excessive ankle support is a good thing, because whilst it might protect you to an extent in certain situations to have a little bit of support, over time you're just weakening those muscles and tendons, meaning you're less able to provide that support yourself. And really, what engineering is better than the human body? These shoes are so comfortable, so flexible, and at the same time let me come here on a muddy, wet day and my feet just feel warm and cozy whilst I'm getting a great workout in. So check out Vivo Barefoot if you want to find more shoes like this, and use my code, that's Bioneer20, to get 20% off of your order. Thanks again to Vivo Barefoot for sponsoring this video. Now on with the show. Leg training? No, you're still not going to find that kettlebell training is any replacement for powerlifting. It doesn't build big tree trunk legs, but what it does do is add that extra bit of resistance to your calisthenics training. So an air squat becomes a goblet squat, and a pistol squat becomes a weighted pistol squat, and a Cossack squat, etc. This adds that resistance, which lets you build a little bit more strength and explosiveness, but at the same time, it also helps you to get into those positions. Getting into a deep resting squat or a deep pistol squat holding a kettlebell is actually easier because it serves as a counterbalance and pushes you into that movement. This gives you greater range of motion, but at the same time, it actually gives you more stability, allowing you to pump out a higher number of reps whilst keeping the focus on the target muscle. So actually you do build slightly stronger and bigger legs as a result. And the kettlebell that weighs 20-30 kilograms offers the right amount of resistance so that now you have to use a bit more strength, but it's not slowing the movement down to a grind. And this translates really well to ballistic and explosive performance, which is what I personally want from my legs. I don't want tree trunk legs because I'm trying to stay athletic. So for me, and probably for a lot of you guys, this is a perfect combination. Conversely though, kettlebell training makes it quite hard to train your shoulders and your chest. Obviously you can press a kettlebell overhead in various ways, and I love the halos, but in terms of sheer resistance against the shoulders, there's only so much you can do with 20 or 30 kilograms. Conversely, as you guys know, I've been doing an awful lot of pike push-ups lately. It's done a great deal to build my shoulders, and pecs are something that are particularly great to build with calisthenics, from one-arm push-ups to incline push-ups to clapping push-ups to dips or whatever else. So there you go, guys. That's why I think that kettlebells and calisthenics are just a match made in heaven. And if you're looking to start a more comprehensive training program by combining two modalities, this is a fantastic choice that will develop everything from endurance to body control to the hip hinge to your biceps and lats to amazing pecs and shoulders, all in a package that's just a single item that you can train with anywhere. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree, and what combination of different training tools and modalities do you like to employ? Obviously for me, it's taking the best from everywhere and combining things like sprinting and jogging and martial arts moves and powerlifting moves and bodybuilding principles all into a single package that just covers everything. And if you're interested in that kind of training, then check out my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training 2.0. There's a link in the description down below. Either way, guys, thanks for watching and bye for now.